economy will shrink in the course of 2023. And then weren't that different compared
with
to many
measurable
others when it comes
benefits
to the
over
inflation,
time.
because inflation is just...
But restoring price stability when inflation is high can require measures that are not popular in the short term.
I'm Christopher Crystal, and today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. And these are our views and reflections on what we're seeing in the Swedish press and what's happening in the market as a result, or what we've seen and potentially what could be seen. But remember to always speak with your own advisor to get your own planning and how to best handle your financial status and portfolio. Our information is not market advice. It's just what we're seeing in the market and just our thoughts. So today, the big focus, primary focus for Sweden is, again, still about NATO and still about the Ukraine. And we had a press release from the government discussing armaments that we'll be sending. So we will be sending this fantastic mobile artillery unit called the Archer. We're going to be sending those, and they're highly advanced and really very effective. We're going to put the target on ourselves for Putin to say, you know, he's angry with Sweden. We're going to be sending those. And then as well as we're doing that, we may even be sending some of the German Leopard 2 tanks that we have. We may participate with that, even though we're not yet part of NATO. And we're looking to fully participate in the support of Ukraine in the war against Russia. So this is coming at an interesting time because it's the middle of winter, but we haven't had a very hard winter yet, even in the Ukraine. So the mud continues to be an issue, and we'll see what that does to any tanks. For the tank issue in the Ukraine, Germany wasn't going to be sending the Leopards until the United States was going to send the Abrams. And now Germany, Scholz, has convinced the United States to send the Abrams. So we're seeing that they're going to send the Leopards. Germany will send the Leopards after the US is committed to sending the Abrams. So we're getting to a full stage of escalation. And Russia has said it will burn these, it doesn't matter what products that are coming, they will burn them. So we've seen a lot of fighting in the Bakhmut and in the Soledar region, and the Wagner Group, which is a neo-Nazi group, has a claim that they've taken over Bakhmut. And we're seeing a lot of reports about, who's getting killed. Apparently, there's a lot of mercenaries that are still there. So from the West, French, British, American, Polish, and the current count that I've heard, whether, we had Ursula von der Leyen saying that there were 100,000 killed that were Ukrainian troops. And then we've seen estimates that are higher than that, whether you want to call it Russian propaganda or whether you want to believe them. The figure is somewhere between fully around 160, 170 that have been killed and injured in the fighting for the Ukraine. And then in terms of the Russians, you see differing figures anywhere from 16,000 to 30,000. So it's hard to get a real figure on what's happening and what would happen going forward. But it looks like we're getting into a full-scale war, no longer just a proxy war between NATO and Russia, but really moving into that status. So what does this mean for the economy? Well, of course, this continues to mean higher food prices. And the people who suffer the most are the people in Africa at this point. Yes, it's difficult for us in Europe, but the real suffering goes to Africa. So at what point do we see a peace negotiation? Well, it's going to be difficult to say. And the economy in Sweden is very tough. We have the high electricity prices. We continue to have high electricity prices. There is an economic package to help households with their electricity prices, but nothing of this will be paid until the 20th of February. So Swedish economies will have to hold out and make it through the tough times with the higher cost of living. And this is something, this risk is a risk that the World Economic Forum has in the risk package as one of the issues that could be a bad thing for the economy, adjusting to the higher price of living. So the idea is that in Sweden, we would hopefully see the Swedish Riksbank lowering rates, and that would be as a result of the decrease in inflation. Now, we don't have any signs yet that the decrease will come. We may have to wait for 12 months before we see that the price doesn't increase more, but that's already up from the 15% and 20% that it has been increasing from. So not a good sign for the Swedish economy. The one good thing that we have seen is that Sweden is going to be endorsing building nuclear. Vattenfall has received approval for their study to increase the reactors that they have. So that's a good sign. And we're moving forward on the nuclear because that is the most energy efficient way to address this carbon-free solution that Sweden would like to achieve by 2045. So we are moving forward with our nuclear, and that's very good. And it's important that we do this, and that is because globally, it's still not clear what's happening with the economy. Many of the moves up in the market have been tied to China is going to have an open economy now. They are not going to be shut down. So many people are saying, okay, great, the economy can move forward. It's not clear yet, but it could be a positive move. Oil future prices have been trading up, but the oil inventories have been building. So we're in a contango scenario, and it's not clear yet whether we will actually see the consumption going forward, and that is expected. But if China's economy does move forward as an open economy, then the 2 million barrels a day that were cut by OPEC could be utilized by the Chinese. So it's a small positive, but we don't have the fundamentals yet to say that the economy is moving forward. We had those declining Chinese trade figures, and we saw that reflected throughout the Western economies. So we don't know yet, and the fundamentals are not there yet for the market. There is expectation that the ECB will not have to raise rates as fast or as much as they at the same rate that they had done before at 75 basis points. Maybe they'll only be going at 50 basis point hikes. We don't know yet. And there's the idea that the US Fed will only be raising rates by 25 basis points. We still don't know yet. But that's what people are looking at. But if we look at the individual reporting of companies, we get a very bleak picture. Microsoft saw the lowest sales in 6 years, and they're a barometer for companies because, well, everybody uses Microsoft. Every company uses Microsoft. So if their sales are slowing, then the business climate is slowing is the idea. And then you see on the industrial side, Boeing had a record loss, and that's not good because their economy, the economy of the United States is tied largely to the airline industry. You do have about 15 to 20% in total tied to the airline industry in terms of airports, airplane manufacturer, so forth. If you break it down, the transport to the airports, and you would have large, at least 15% of the economy in the United States tied to this. So Boeing not doing well is not healthy for the economy. That on top of the tech stocks, you saw roughly close to 100,000 being laid off. And in the big names and other names. So that's not a good sign. One area of brightness, you do see a lot of the job creation has been in small industry, small business in the United States. So that means that there is some job growth and job creation, but maybe not as much as what you'd like to see, and not in the key sectors. In the auto manufacturing, Ford is cutting back. They're going to be selling less automobiles in Europe. Now, whether this is a problem of they're not addressing the market properly and selling models that people want to buy in Europe, or the brands here are European, and so the European brands are dominating, that's an idea. But Tesla actually sold more electric vehicles in Germany than Volkswagen did. And when Ford is selling and reducing its production here in Europe, they're selling their European factory to BYD, or at least they're trying to. So in Germany, they're trying to sell their car production to BYD. But what's interesting is that Tesla is going to be taking full advantage of the US subsidies. They're opening a new plant in Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, but I believe Reno, Nevada, and they will be producing more cars. That plant is something like 3.4 billion, and they look to have record auto sales. So electric vehicles are selling. Tesla did relatively well in Germany, and they're increasing what they're doing, their production in the United States. So this is one of the areas that Europe needs to address, is that subsidies in the United States as part of this inflation reduction plan are giving a better tax break incentive to companies that are doing business in the United States. And so Europe needs to really reinforce that they're giving incentives to companies to open and do business in Europe. So right now, in terms of the market, what this means is that we don't have the pure fundamentals to say this is why you want to buy the market, and you have to be cautious. But remember, you can always make money in the market. You can trade, and you can short, and you can play derivatives. And for that, you should speak to your advisor, your investment advisor, to understand the best way to go about this and devise your own strategy. But fundamentally, we don't see the reason to buy. And right now in Sweden, to add on just a little bit also, is that the issue comes down to Swedish society and have we lost our Swedish society? And that was reflected in the recent elections and why we had a shift to the right. Because over the years, Sweden has adopted a lot of immigrants. And I am one of those who happily lives in Sweden and was adopted by the Swedish culture and try to adopt the Swedish culture as well. But there is a fundamental issue in Sweden that it's not a very open society in the sense of adopting immigrants. So the integration issue, which has been going on for 20 years and been talked about for over 20 years, continues. And so the criminality that we've seen in Sweden, and we have with the shootings, and we have with the explosions, and we have with the gang activity for drugs and for other things, has been with these first generation Swedes. You have the crime register being filled with people that are first generation Sweden. So we're not seeing enough of an integration for these people. And we've lost a bit of our Swedishness, where Sweden has accepted immigrants from different parts of the world to help them. But then once those people are here, they haven't been integrated so that they could feel Swedish. And this is the issue that Sweden is wrestling with, and how to integrate and how to kind of take back our Swedish culture. And by that meaning integrate people so they understand that they are Swedish and that they want to live and work in Sweden. So this is an issue that Sweden's wrestling with, and will continue to plague it. So it makes it a little different in the economy, and different regions that are impacted by it. You know, in the north, you have more of the economy opening up and getting better electricity prices. So maybe there you would see a change. And in the south, we have less of the integration acceptance, and we have kind of a splintering of groups, and less of an acceptance of the culture on both sides. So that's what we look at in Sweden right now. So remember, you can look at the economy. You won't see the fundamentals, but if you look at the market from the beginning of the year, you would say, hey, I should have been involved because the market's been going up. So maybe you want to be a trader. Maybe you want to be a fundamentalist and buy it and lock it away for 10 years, or maybe you want to look at it on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. That's up to you and your advisor. But this is what we're seeing in Sweden, and we'll wish you a great day. Hopefully you're subscribed and you've liked our content, and we look forward to speaking to you in the future. Thank you.